socialstudiesgames.us, Unit 7, Video 2, as always, based on the AP US History Guidelines. Your learning goal today, well, we've got the Wilson stuff under control. Don't have to worry about that anymore. Just let me go, boom, check. Today, inflation. We're doing inflation again. Yeah, well, it's important to know because it's a very important thing that happens in your life. Sometimes the things that we study in social studies, sometimes it's not important. Sometimes we're just doing facts that we need to remember for the AP History test. Other times, it's a real big deal that you are going to have to deal with in your lifetime. Inflation, you're going to have to deal with that. The Fed, it's still around today, folks. You need to know what it does and how it affects the economy. Again, the Federal Reserve was created by Woodrow Wilson. It's the banker's bank. You go to the bank to get money. Banks go to the Federal Reserve to get money. It is the U.S. government's bank. It's the first time since Andrew Jackson killed off the Second National Bank of America in the 1830s that we now have one central bank, although there are various different Federal Reserve banks across the country. If you pull out a dollar bill that you have in your pocket, you'll actually see what specific Federal Reserve bank printed your dollar bill and then loaned it to a bank. It manages the money in the economy. What do you manage the money? We've talked about this before. The supply of money that's actually out here floating around from store to store, from business to business. It's in your pocket, my pocket. The money that is circulating around in the economy, more of it can cause issues. Not enough of it can cause issues. It's the job of this specific bank and its branches to make sure that we have just the right amount of money in the economy. As we said before, if there's not very much money in the economy, just a little bit, the actual value of that dollar bill is really good. That money buys a lot of stuff because that is a rare commodity. It's rare. There's not a lot of money in the world. So it is worth a lot. If we print a bunch of money and we increase the supply of money, the actual value of that money is less. It buys less. It's not as important. And we're going to go over exactly how this happens because, again, a lot of times this melts brains. Like, how did a dollar is a dollar, Mr. Dietrich? What are you talking about? $5 is $5. Not so fast. And you know that $5 today does not buy what $5 used to buy when you were a kid. When you went to the store and you had $5, oh man, I got $5. And today you're like, well, I just got $5. You know that feeling. You absolutely know. Yes, it still says $5 on your dollar bill or your $5 bill. And Abraham Lincoln is still on there cheesing. Hey, but you know that the $5 that you take to the store, it doesn't buy what it used to because we have printed more money. And the value of that money has gone down. That is called inflation. But it's not debilitating. It has not ruined your world because we have managed inflation. A little bit of inflation is not so bad. As long as the Federal Reserve doesn't go crazy with the printing of money that your $5, maybe you can't get as much, you can't get as many bags of Takis as you used to, but you can still get a bag of Takis. So it's not killing you. You can still get the Takis. You can still get the Faygo. You're still doing all right. You just can't get the Takis, the Faygo, and the bubble tape. Real quick, economics lesson that's very important. As always, big concept that you need to know in your life. It determines what you buy. It determines what you can sell. You want to be a consumer. You want to be a producer. You have to follow these laws and these rules if you want to be successful and if you want to make good purchases. And this will help set the background for what we're going to talk about. Not so much demand, but we might as well talk about it. When demand is high, price is high. For example, if there's something that everybody wants, the price is high because the guy that's selling it realizes, everybody wants this. Now I could give it to him for a real low price, or maybe I will charge as much as I possibly can so I can get rich. That's how that works. If the demand or people really want something, then the producer or the person selling that realizes it and raises prices. If he didn't, he wouldn't make any money and he would eventually go out of business. If demand is low and no one wants that, no one wants expired cheese, moldy cheese, expired milk. With a perfect example, there is a store right down the street that sells cookies and sweets and candy bars that are either expired or have fallen off the back of the truck and the goods are damaged. The packaging's all messed up and sometimes half of the candy bar is mushed. Nobody wants that. I don't want a mushed candy bar. I don't want a candy bar that may or may not have mold. I don't know until I open it up. That's a risk I don't want to take. The demand for those candy bars is very low. Thus, If you go to that store and buy their damaged candy bars, or maybe their past due candy bars, or maybe their cracked up crackers, they're cracked up, smashed up crackers, you can get a lower price. I can go right now about a block away and I can get a boatload of Reese Cups, Easter Reese Cup eggs for almost nothing. I can get a box and box and box for about $1 because it's from Easter and right now it's June. No one wants to buy Easter candy right now because it's old. Whether it's moldy or not, it's just hard for people to sell. People say, oh, that's Easter. I don't want to buy that. Well, you go to this store, demand low for that, price is low. How about Christmas candy? Get it even cheaper. Now, it may be bad candy and it may kill you, but you know what? You got a good deal though. Supply is the one that we really want to focus on for this lesson. The supply. When supply is low or something is rare, its price goes up. Gold, certain metals, specific types of shoes. It doesn't even have to be a specific thing. It could be a talent. We talked about in another video, LeBron James. His talent is rare. And so if you want him on your basketball team, you got to spend a lot of money. Anything where the supply of that is rare, it's very unique, the price is very high. Paintings from hundreds, 200s, 300, 400, 500 years ago, where there's only one in the world, painted by a guy who's been dead for 500 years. Wow, that's one of a kind, and that usually sends the price through the roof. The opposite is supply. If supply of something is going high, meaning it is not rare, it is in abundance, there is many, many, many of them, then it will do the opposite, and that means the price of that product will drop because it's not rare. It's not hard to get. It's not perceived as valuable. This is what we want to focus on. Supply. When something is rare or low, the price goes up. It becomes hard to get. So whoever owns it, if I am in possession of the last Snicker bar on earth, or the last Twinkie on earth, the last one, if you want it, you've got to buy it and you got to pay my price. And I realize I'm the only one that gets it. So I will sell it to the highest bidder, $100, $200, $300. You tell me. See how the price goes up? Because I have the last Twinkie. Now, today, if I walk out in the street and say, who wants a Twinkie? They'll say, well, I can go to the store and get Twinkies. I can go to the gas station to get Twinkies. I can go to Family Dollar and get Twinkies. I can actually go to my next door neighbor. He's got a cupboard full of Twinkies. The supply of Twinkies are very high. So if I try to sell it for $300, no. $200, no. $5, shut up. Well, don't tell people to shut up. That's rude. A buck? How about 50 cents? All right, 50 cents, that sounds about the right price because you know the supply is high. You can get them anywhere you want. The only way I can sell it is if I lower the price. Supply is what you want to focus on. Supply not only focuses on products, it not only affects services and talents and goods, it also affects money. The actual dollar bills, their value changes. All right, let's go over some examples. Some may work for you, some may not. If you don't get one, that's fine. There's going to be more examples. Hopefully at one point, one of these will resonate with you. Let's imagine a world, and we kind of just did this, an economy where there's only one piece of candy corn. I made this during Halloween, I believe, one year, and candy corn is the Halloween treat. It's an easy example. Anyway, candy corn is $1 in this economy because there's only $1 in the economy and there's one piece of candy. So there it is. You want to trade? You want to make an exchange? It's $1 for one piece of candy. So now let's mess around. Let's change the supply. All right, remember when we change supply, value changes. We change the supply of candy and we increase it. So if we go up with the arrow, we go supply up. What do you think is going to happen? You guessing? What's going to happen to the price of candy? So we increase it 5. Now, so we increase the candy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we did not increase the supply of money. That is static. That is the same. And so now, if we are trading, $1 buys 5 pieces of candy. Now I'm saying, like, well, no, that's not really. Just stay with me, okay? Stay with me. So before, you could get one piece of candy for $1. We increase the supply. Remember, when supply of something goes up, its price goes down. And so now, one piece of candy is technically only worth 20 cents. As we said, 5 pieces of candy matched to that $1 for the trade is 20 cents. You're like, I don't think that's really the way it works. You kind of trade the supply, but there's no guarantee that you're going to spend that type of money for the candy. Okay, you're not with me. That's fine. I'm trying to show you supply going up and price going down. Let's give you another example again. So I say the supply of candy goes up, so then the price must go down, the value of it. And that's what this slide says here. The supply went up, right? And so the price went down. Now, one piece of candy is valued at 20 cents, as opposed when it was rare, it was the only piece of candy in the world, it was $1. Now, if we're buying candy, you know that, well, that's not the only piece of candy in the world. Before it was the only piece of candy in the world, so I'll give you $1 for it, my only dollar. Now I know it's not the only one. There's a candy here. There's another piece of candy at this guy. This guy's got a piece of candy. This guy's got a piece of candy. There is a debate. There is a competition over the candy. It's not as rare. It's not so unique. The price of it goes down. Maybe I'll go buy from him. Maybe I'll go buy from him. Let's see what the price is. You want $1 still? How much is he selling for? How much is he selling for? Let's give you another example. Again, supply of candy goes up, value goes down. Xbox, not 360, Xbox One, released in 2013 at a retail price of $499. Actually, it might have been more than that. So that was the suggested retail price when it was released, if you could get one. Remember, when these video game machines come out, they're hard to find. You got to go from store to store like, oh, you calling up, does Walmart got one? Oh, they don't have one. What about Target? Hey, I heard that there's a Walmart 3 cities over. It's hard to get them. And so when they first come out, technically they were $499, but really, a lot of times because the supply, when they very first release an Xbox One or PS4 is so rare that a lot of times you can't even get them at the store. But some dude buys one and knows. That dude knows. Maybe you were one of these guys. Maybe you're one of these guys. You knew to go get an Xbox One before they sold out, and you got one. And everybody around town's like, I want an Xbox One. So remember, the supply is low, and you are very smart. You're very crafty, and you realize everybody's going to need one of these things, and the supply is low. And so I bought it for $499. I can turn around and sell it for, I don't know, you could probably sell it for $700 on eBay because the supply is low. So the price goes up. It's actually, you can get a higher price than this. By 2016, they had made 19 million Xbox Ones. So the supply of these Xboxes have gone up. What do you think is going to happen to the price? Of course, you know what's going to happen. It went down to $250. These are actual prices. These are the actual numbers. 2013, 2016, the supply went up, the price went down. Again, we haven't quite started talking about inflation yet. We're just going over the rules and laws of supply and demand. Supply goes up, price goes down. The same thing that affects these tangible, physical products, these same laws will affect money. It is hard for us to understand and grasp. We get that the price tag on this changes. We understand that the price of products goes up and down, but it's hard for us sometimes to comprehend that the actual kind of price on a dollar bill, although the number doesn't change on the piece of paper, it buys more or it buys less. Supply goes up, price goes down. Now there's also other things that are happening here. So the supply of Xbox Ones went up, the value, the price went down. Let's go back to our candy explanation. Steve's Candy Shop. Steve's got one. I know in the picture he's got a bunch of candy, but let's imagine he's got one piece of candy for sale. Doesn't matter. This is the one that everybody wants. Everybody loves candy corn. So Selena, Bruce, and Miranda walk into Steve's Candy Shop. Selena's got $1. Bruce has got $3. Miranda's got $2. This is how a market works. This is how, theoretically, a market will work. Steve says, all right, I got a piece of candy. Who wants to buy it? Selena says, me do. Bruce says, me do. And Miranda says, me do. Or I do would probably be the right way to say it. And he says, all right, well, what do you want to give me? Selena's got $1. Bruce has got $3. Miranda's got $2. Well, guess who gets that piece of candy? It's going to be Bruce. He's the highest bidder. And so then we've now established that the price of that candy is $3. It's not made up by the government. It's not determined by Steve. The law of supply and demand has determined this price of candy. There it is. The bidding takes place. We've got a piece of candy. Now, a lot of times you're like, man, I just wish we had more money. If I just had more money, why can't we all have more money so I can go buy things? So let's do that. Let's change the supply of money. Let's increase it. See what happens. Everybody should be able to buy candy, okay? So let's just government give people more money so that everyone, because Selena didn't get any candy, Miranda didn't get any candy. We'll just give them more money. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. The government can do this. They're not gonna do this, but they can do this. Let's just print more money. All right, Selena, you got $4. Bruce, you got $6. Miranda, you got $5. Some of you are probably already realizing, well, this is disappointing because I don't think Selena and Miranda are going to get the candy after all. So we go back to Steve's candy shop. Steve's like, well, all right, what do you guys got? Selena 4, Bruce 6, Miranda 5. Oh, too bad. Bruce still gets the candy. Well, that didn't help. It's worse than you think. This is unfair. Well, don't use the fair word. It's not cool for Selena, and it's not the best situation for Miranda, and Bruce gets the candy again, but it's not that great for Bruce either, because yesterday, before the government decided to print more money, he could buy a piece of candy for $3. Now, that same exact piece of candy that has not changed now costs him $6. Think about it. You go to work and you work for an hour. Imagine that he earns $3 an hour. Bruce earns $3 an hour. It's a terrible job, but Bruce earns $3 an hour. Yesterday, he only had to go to work for 1 hour to buy a piece of candy. Now, he has to go to work for an additional hour just to have enough money to go buy candy. That's not good. We've increased the supply of money, not messed with candy. We increased the supply of money. Yesterday, I could get it for $3. Now it costs me $6. Or basically, what I used to be able to do is with $3, now that only buys me half a piece of candy. What? This is not good. Having more money, this is not good. Well, having more money is good if we have not increased the supply of money. Having more money because they've increased the supply of money, clearly it does not work. We are showing you just by printing more money, this, folks, is going to be called inflation, or the devaluation of money. Because we have increased the supply of money, we have taken its price or its value or its buying power, purchasing power, however you want to say that. We've talked about in videos before, it's gone down. So just because you've got more of those greenbacks in your hand, they're not buying you anything. They're not buying you more. They're buying the same thing. It's not good. Supply of money goes up. Its value goes down. This is all going to come back to the Federal Reserve. Remember, the Federal Reserve is supposed to be in charge of controlling the money. We don't want too many dollar bills out there floating around, and we don't want too few dollar bills floating around. Perfect examples, 2012, you want to go buy a can of Coca-Cola, 75 cents. Well, 2000, you could have bought that for 50 cents. Same exact can of Coca-Cola, same amount of sugar, syrup, everything is the same, just as ice cold and sweet, but it costs you more because money, the supply of money went up and the price of that money has gone down. The same amount of Coca-Colas, it's just that your dollar bill buys less. Soda in a 20-ouncer or pop if you're from the Midwest. It's up to, so $1.40 today. Used to get that for 99 cents. Why has it changed? Because of inflation. You have seen this with many products in your lifetime. You understand that when you have the supply of Xbox goes up and down, and you understand that price affects. It's tough for you with money, but you have experienced it. You ever realized maybe it's hard for you to rewind the clock to go back to your little days, the first time you had your own money and you went into the store and bought something, and remember what it bought. And now you go into the store and you're like, oh man, do I have enough money? Why am I all of a sudden worried if I have enough money? It used to be easy to buy this stuff. I used to always be able to buy the chicken sandwich. Now I have to get the hamburger that I can't even get cheese on it. I can't even get cheese. I'm basically begging for some ketchup. What are we doing? I used to get a chicken sandwich and fries. Now I walk into this place and I'm lucky to come out with a hamburger. That's inflation. Your dollar has lost its value. Its purchasing power or its price or its value has gone down because the supply has gone up. Now, at least you're getting a hamburger. It's not the worst inflation in the world. When inflation gets really bad, you get nothing. Nothing. Maybe if you're lucky, they'll take a half of a bun and wad it up and throw it in your face. That's a little severe, Mr. Dietrich. Inflation. All right, some more inflation examples. Supply goes up. What if, let's just reverse it. What if we decrease the supply of Xboxes? What happens? We decrease the supply of Xboxes, just get an idea. if we decrease the supply of Xboxes, the price of Xboxes will go up. But I also want to increase the supply of money. Huh? What? So look at this. We're gonna really double down, and you can really mess with the economy. This stuff happens all the time. So we take the supply of Xboxes, we lower it. We know when something becomes more rare, it becomes more valuable, the price goes up. And let's just ignore the date, because this is just in theory. Let's say we lower the supply and the price is going to be up. Kind of like the example I gave you earlier, where all the stores were out of Xboxes, and the only way you could get one was off some dude on eBay, and that dude totally jacked the price up, but he was the only guy to get it from, and the supply was low, so the price was high. Well, we got another problem. What if at the same time we increase the supply of money, and so that the money's price goes down? Yikes. So we do this, no more Xboxes, jacks the price up. And we also, it could be like $1,000 for an Xbox, because we've also made the actual money worth less. Yikes! And we see this with shoes too. Maybe shoes is a better example. A lot of times, this is supposedly on Google Images, they said this was one of a kind. I don't know. Obviously, it's an Air Jordan. I guess it's important. I guess it's very rare. You would have to tell me. And normally, it's very easy for students just to say no and act like teachers don't know anything. That's fine. You're probably going to tell me, no, I had a pair of those, got rid of them. They're all right. They're not that rare, Mr. Dietrich. What you really look for, whatever. I'm fine. Okay, that's cool. Cool story. I'm sorry that I did not pick the right pair of shoes. But by the way, what I'm trying to tell you is the supply of these is really low. The supply of money is really high. That makes these very, very expensive. Supply of money goes up. Price of those goes down. Supply of shoes goes down. The value of them goes up, so the price tag skyrockets. It's a double whammy. This stuff happens. Just interesting things that you will experience in your life when we're talking about inflation. And when this is the case, when you've got this double whammy where supply of money goes up, price of that money actually goes down, the supply of the shoes goes down, and the price of the shoes goes up, what we happen is a scenario where if you go to Foot Locker, you have to roll in with a barrel of money. It takes a lot more money to buy a pair of shoes. You're probably looking at that and saying, that's awesome, a barrel full of money. No. Are you listening to me? This is not good. This is bad, because the money is not worth anything. It's not a lot of money, because each dollar is not worth what it used to be. Technically, the dollar is probably worth 10 cents. The dollar is a dime. The dollar is a dime. What you used to be able to go to Foot Locker and you just pull out your wallet and give a couple bucks, maybe $100 bill or a couple bills. Now, the money that is required to buy that rare pair of shoes with your inflated fiat currency. Remember when we said fiat before? Let it become. The money is just money because we said it's money. It's not attached to gold or anything. But because there's so much money, its actual value has gone down. And because that item you're buying is so rare, it also costs more money. And so instead of just going in and getting the money out of your wallet, you now have to literally, to have enough money to buy that shoe, you need a wheelbarrow. And this is not made up. This is real. This has happened in economies around the world where the government of those economies printed too much money. The governments of those economies did not do a good job at regulating how much money. That's real, folks. Another example, this is Germany during the Great Depression, where their money, they printed too much of it. This is a dude going to the store. It's not pulling out my wallet to buy the groceries. Got to go buy some hamburger. All right, well, throw it in the back of the pickup truck. Not the hamburger. We're talking about the dollar bills that we are going to need to pay for this. Again, here's a picture in color, which means this is happening today. This is happening today. Oh, I'm just going to go to the store real quick. Oh, let me grab all the money I need. The exchange rate, $25 million in Zimbabwe is equal to $1. So that $1 in your pocket, one single bill, 25 million. Man, 25 million. No, $25 million is not good when the dollars are worth nothing. Oh, $100 trillion. It's not worth anything. Just because it has this big number, that does not mean it's worth anything. There's too much of it. That's why they have these ridiculous totals. This is inflation out of control. We've never experienced runaway inflation like this, but it has happened in many other countries where the economies have said, all right, well, we want people to buy things and we want to stimulate the economy, so we got to make sure people have money. And unfortunately, in those economies, in those nations, the government gets way too out of hand and prints way too much money. Can't do that. So again, supply of money goes up, the value of that money goes down. If the supply goes down, though, it actually can buy more, which is pretty good, but there's a reason why you don't want to do that. You really need to find a balance. It is okay to print a lot of money as long as it's slow and steady. And a little bit of inflation every single year is not going to kill the economy. In theory, one of the problems we talk about is, so when this happens, when the supply of money goes up and its actual value goes down, prices of the goods go up, right? What you used to buy, you got to pay more. Well, typically your wages should go up with it. You should get paid more too. So that's not so bad, but that usually doesn't happen. That's an argument for another day, right? You understand that when we have inflation and the supply of money goes up and its value goes down, it's very common for the price of an Xbox to go up, for the pair of shoes to go up, for the price of milk to go up. The price of everything goes up. And so also should the price of wages. If you have to pay more to buy goods and buy services, it should cost more for your boss to buy you as a worker. But for whatever reason, wages often don't go up. They should, and that makes matters worse. So again, as we talk about how money floats through the economy, what happens is banks loan money to people. People spend that money, and when we spend, businesses make more goods, they hire more workers, and if there's more people working, then people spend more money, and they make more, and it goes up and up and up, and it just cycles over and over and over. And this all starts with the bank loaning money. They loan money to you, you spend it, they make more, they hire more. That means there's more families in the economy spending, and then they are buying more, and it goes up and up and up, and all happens with loaning. That's very good. That's awesome. The economy will grow, and it all starts when the banks or the Federal Reserve loans money out into the economy. The only problem is when they loan money out into the economy, this can cause inflation, and the value of the money goes down. But if they do this at an average or not at an out of control rate, they don't print too much money, the economy will grow and inflation will not be too bad. They just got to make sure that they're easy with it. Now, sometimes it gets out of control and they need to reel it back in and they need to calm the economy down. And so what the banks will do is loan out less money. You'll spend less money. And when you spend less, they make less, they hire less. And if there's less people working, you spend less, and the factories make less and they hire less, and it goes down and down and down. Now, this hurts the economy, shrinks the economy. That's not so good. So you're like, oh, well, why would the government ever do this? Why would the Federal Reserve stop loaning money? Well, the benefit of this is it will stop inflation. It will maintain the value of the dollar, or it'll even increase the value of the dollar. And we don't end up with $1 trillion bills. We don't end up with dudes throwing all their money in a wheelbarrow. And they can do this and prevent this by loaning less money into the economy, sucking some of the money out of the economy. So you kind of go with it every time. You don't want to print too much money. So again, how it works is the Federal Reserve prints the money, they loan the money to the banks, and the banks loan it out to businesses and people. Now you got the money out in the economy, and the economy grows. The Fed puts money into the economy, and they will grow. That is a lot like the gas pedal. This stimulates the economy. They loan money, the money goes out, the economy grows, people buy stuff, it creates jobs, and the economy grows. The brake pedal is, but if you're on the gas the entire time, you're going to wreck the car. And we've talked about that before. Wrecking the car is inflation, where your money becomes worthless. When you have hyperinflation, a little bit of inflation is okay. The brake pedal is when the government takes the money out of the economy, and that shrinks the economy. But the good thing that they can do is they can prevent inflation. So sometimes when the government is on the gas too much, which is happening today, right now, and you'll hear good job numbers and everyone's talking about how well the economy is doing. And the reason, or one of the reasons why our economy is so strong at the moment, is because the Fed is on the gas pedal. They are continuing to loan money out, and the economy is growing and people are spending, but the dread or the threat of inflation looms. The fact that at some point our money may actually be worth less. The purchasing power, although you are making money, you're buying less and less and less. You're getting less with the money that you have. Right now, they are on the gas. And so soon in the future, what will have to happen is the government is going to have to, and mainly the Fed, and they're kind of hinting away at doing this right now. This is 2019 June if you're watching this video. So I don't know if I'm predicting the future. I'm not really predicting the future. They have to do this. This is not made up nonsense. They've got to get back on the brake a little bit. And they've got to take some of this money out of the economy. And that's going to stop inflation. And that will make sure that your money is worth something. But we're going to see the economy shrink. People are going to have to lose jobs in this process. There's going to have to be cuts. And you say, oh, that's terrible. We can't do that. But you know, we've just explained, if they just stay on the gas pedal, we're going to get inflation that's out of control. We do not want that by any means. So the economy is going to stop growing. So if you're graduating high school right now as you're recording this video and we haven't hit out the break yet, good luck. Again, the Federal Reserve manages the amount of money in the economy. They control how much physical money there is in the economy. And you should understand now how the supply of that money goes up, goes down, and what happens to the value of that, and how that affects citizens, how that affects businesses, and how that is a huge part of America 100 years ago, and how that is a huge part of America today, and how that will be a huge part of America in the future. More money in the economy stimulates the economy. People spend more, businesses produce more, there are more jobs, the economy grows. But the downside is you run the risk of inflation. Less money in the economy will slow the economy down. People will spend less, businesses will produce less, they will hire less, the economy shrinks, but it will prevent inflation and it will maintain the value of our currency so that when I go to the store, I do not have to use the wheelbarrow full of stacks. Stacks and stacks and stacks. Stacks are good when it's worth something. Stacks are meaningless. Got stacks and stacks and stacks. Dude, those stacks don't mean anything when you're playing with funny money, when it's inflation. They got stacks over in Zimbabwe. They had stacks in Germany following the fall, I guess, of the Weimar Republic. They had those stacks, but they were worthless because the dollars were pretty much just pieces of paper. Two functions of the Fed. The way that they can mess with the supply of money in the economy is to raise or lower interest rates and to raise or lower the bank's reserve. Both of these are not very complex. Bank's reserve is pretty simple to understand. I'll explain that. Interest rates, we'll explain really quickly. Most of you probably already know what interest is. It's when you borrow money, but let's do it real quick. When you borrow money, real simply, a low interest rate is good. It is a percentage is what we're talking about. So if you borrow $100,000 from the bank at 1% interest, that is low. That is good. That means when you pay back your loan, because you borrowed this, you got to give it back at some point. Usually it takes years and years and years to pay it back. But after all those years of paying it back, basically they say, here's $100,000. You can spend it because you need something. You got to buy a house and you're going to pay the bank back over time. It's a loan. You pay back the $100,000. That's too many zeros. I'm sorry. What are you doing? So you pay back the $100,000 and another $10,000. So you pay back $110,000. So in the long run, you actually lost $10,000, but that's okay because that immediate money allowed you to buy a house when you needed it. That's the charge. That's the service. That's the charge you have to pay to borrow the money. That's not a bad deal. Let me show you. That's actually an amazing deal. Nowhere do you get a 1% interest rate. Nowhere. So low interest is good. Interest is the money that you pay on a loan. And there's a better definition of interest, but that's what we're going to use for right now. Borrowing at high interest then is bad. If I borrow $100,000 at 10% interest, I got to pay back, again, Mr. Dietrich, could you pay more attention when you're creating your graphics? $100,000, I have to pay that back plus $10,000. Mr. Dietrich, work on your graphics, please. Buddy, come on. So I end up giving back 100. This math is all messed up. I'm sorry. You paid back $101,000 a year. I hope someone caught that. If you caught that, congratulations. I made a mistake there. So 1% of 100,000. See, I messed up my numbers here. This is true. But anyway, so if you borrow $100,000, 1% interest is $1,000. So then you end up paying $101,000. If you have 10% on $100,000, 10% of $100,000 is $10,000. And so you pay back $110,000. So here you paid $1,000. Here you got to pay $10,000. Well, gee, you would rather pay back $1,000 than pay back $10,000. In both cases, you borrow $100,000. In this case, you borrow it and only have to pay an interest of $1,000. Here, you borrow it and you have to pay an interest of $10,000. So 110 versus 101. You like this. So low interest, good. And again, interest is basically the amount, basically a percentage, the amount that you owe when you buy a loan. It grows over time. I'm not going to go into that detail, but just know the basic example there. Low interest, good. When there's low interest, you're more likely to borrow. You will borrow more. Right here, you're like, yeah, give me that $100,000. I'm going to take it. Down here, like, nah, I'm not really interested. So if you're like this, a bunch of people are like this, and that means a lot of borrowing and a lot of money in the economy. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars and people spending. And when you spend, businesses are making more goods and the economy goes up and up and up. Down here, people say, nah. So there's less money in the economy, less spending, less producing goods then. Jobs go down, the economy shrinks. Of course, if you're paying attention, though, more money in the economy means the price is going to go down. And over here, less money in the economy actually means that money is worth a lot more. All right. You're losing your mind. I promise this is probably the last video that we will do on inflation in the Federal Reserve. So again, what happens is, remember, the Fed is the banker's bank. So when the banks get money, they borrow it from the Fed. And how it works, they get the money, remember, and then they get the money to you, and you buy stuff, and it's good. And it's all good. So here, low interest rates stimulate the economy. Here's how it works. The bank says, oh, you're only going to charge me, Fed, a low interest rate, just like you. You as a person will borrow money at a low interest rate. Well, so will the bank in regards to the Federal Reserve. You say, yeah, low interest rate, give me that money. And the banks say, yeah, low interest rate, give me that money. The banks borrow more money, and then the banks loan it out to you because it's a low interest rate and there's more borrowing. So everybody wants to get in on this. It's easier to borrow money because it's easier to pay back. They make money. You buy what you need. Businesses do well. Everything works out. It's awesome. There's more spending. The economy goes up. Run into a risk of inflation. Low interest rates stimulate the economy. This is that gas pedal on the brake. That would be gas pedal by the Fed. Lower the interest rates. This is where we are today. Low interest rates. Interest rates are very, very low. It is very cheap and easy to borrow money right now. Sometimes you got to slow down the economy because the inflation is out of control, and that would be by raising interest rates. And when the Fed raises interest rates, the banks say, nah, we Gucci. And guess what? When there's high interest rates, businesses and people are less likely to borrow as well. And if they're less likely to borrow money, that's less money. They spend less. The economy goes down, but it will stop inflation. All right, the bank's reserve. This one's really easy. So imagine a bank, and inside each bank there is a vault. And part of the rules of the Federal Reserve is they write a rule that says you've got to have so much money in your vault at any time, just in case everybody comes in and says, I want my money back. I want my money back. So there are rules that require how much money the bank has to keep in their vaults. This is called the bank's reserve. So one way that the Federal Reserve can stimulate the economy, get more money out there to the people, get it out to the businesses, throw it around, yeah, shake it up, is by saying, look, your reserve before was $35 million. Now you only have to keep $25 million. Take that extra 10 or that $10 million that you got sitting in there. You got $35 million in there, right? Well, tell you what, you only need to keep 25 in here. That other 10, loan it out. Loan it to businesses that are going to create jobs and spend. Loan it out to people who are going to buy homes, buy cars, buy speedboats, buy watches. That's $10 million pumped into the economy. That's going to create jobs. Also might create inflation. What if we raise the bank's reserve? We tell them, you know what? There's too much money out there. We're going to need you to pull it back in. New rule. $35 million, you got to keep $45 million in your vault. That sucks like a vacuum cleaner. Sucks $10 million out of the economy. That controls inflation. but it'll slow down the economy. Federal Reserve, gas pedal, brake. I think we got it. I think we finally understand it. So hopefully, like we did the Wilson stuff last time, good. Should be able to define inflation and exactly how we know exactly. This is not made up stuff. You have experienced this. You just did not have a name for it. You know this phenomenon. You just have never known what the definition of it was or understood specifically how this phenomenon happens. And I can go even more in depth to show you exactly why the prices go up or exactly why the value of the dollar goes down and show you detailed exactly what happens step by step by step. But it's easier just to say, look, the supply of money goes down, the price of it goes up. The supply of money goes up, the value of it goes down. It's much easier just to accept this. If you want to dive deep into an inflation hole, there's plenty of videos on the internet. There's plenty of books that you can study in economics in high school or in college to know exactly every step of the process and all the different forces involved to know how inflation happens and how the Fed or the Federal Reserve can really affect the economy, which is really a powerful thing. This is the economy. When we talk about the economy, we're talking about the market. We're talking about buying and selling goods, producing goods. You as a consumer, you as a worker, you maybe as an investor, maybe you as the owner of a business, you as a college student that's going to spend money to learn something so then you can take that knowledge and make money off of it. That is the economy, all the buying and the selling and the trading. Well, above all of that, basically the god of the economy. I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but they basically are the gods. They are the puppet masters controlling. They're above the puppet, making the puppet dance. They control the economy. And the American economy is controlled by the Fed. Simply, it's controlled by the amount of money that comes in and out. That is a lot of power. And that goes back to what I did not talk about at the beginning of the video, which is some people are slightly concerned about the Fed having this ridiculous amount of power. This is maybe the most power that any organization has in America, which maybe even says in the world. And the fact that this organization, this institution known as the Federal Reserve, the banker's bank, it operates outside of the government. This thing is it is owned by private banks. It's its own separate enterprise. That is slightly scary.